Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome as you're joining in. I see lots of you are joining in so far already. Welcome to those of you that are joining us from around the world. This is the Trauma Healing Institute webinar. Today, we'll be discussing online trauma healing activities. My name is Marlena Centeno, and I'll be your host. Before we get started, again, I see lots of you are joining. Why don't you go ahead and state your name, where you're calling in from. Again, as usual, this is an interactive time, so we want to make sure that you are connecting in the chat. So just state your name, your location, and maybe one word expressing how are you feeling during this time. Just one word, how are you feeling? We'd love to hear from you and for you to be able to connect with others who may be feeling the same way. We know that you are facilitators, you are caring for many people in your communities. And how you feel is really important to us. And so, yeah, we want to hear from you. If it is distracting for you to be joining in on the chat, you can just click the X and you won't see it at all. I know that many of you are joining in from Spanish-speaking countries, and we were supposed to have Spanish translation. I just want to say my apologies. We are so sorry that we will not be able to be providing that for you today. However, we will have translation at a later time, and we will have a moderator in the chat with pointing out some key points in Spanish for you. In our current environment of the COVID-19 pandemic, most of our world has been forced to isolate, to distance ourselves from others, and to not gather in groups. We know that some of you have even lost loved ones, and a lot of us know people personally who have the virus. All around the globe, anxiety is high and trauma symptoms are present. You are a part of the Trauma Healing Institute, and we just want to say thank you. Thank you for your heart to serve those in your communities who are hurting. We see you, we know you. I see lots of you are chatting in, stating where you're from. I see people calling in from Florida, from North Carolina, from Sri Lanka, from Bangladesh. Thank you guys so much. Again, just wanted to say thank you before we get started for everything that you're doing. With the focus on our materials being experiential and participatory, a lot of you have been asking, how can we meet the practical needs of those in our community with our materials without being able to gather? And it's exactly how we're doing it right now, which is through online activity. Lots of you are already doing online activity. I personally got to talk to Nasreen in Turkey to hear how she's leading healing groups. Many of you in South America are already using our materials. And again, you guys have been so creative to meet the needs of those in your community. So thank you for that. Today, I'll be interviewing trauma healing facilitators who have led groups in an online format. They have lots of wisdom to share, and I'm really excited to be interviewing them. So allow me to introduce you to them. We have Heya Kuri, who is live from Amman, Jordan. And those of you who are watching, she is a trauma healing coordinator for the Bible Society of Jordan. So if you can welcome Heya to our program today. We have Gabriela de Ramirez. She is live from El Salvador. If you can welcome Gabby. We also have Diana Span, who is live from Dallas, Texas in America. Diana is the trauma healing coordinator for SIL International. And lastly, we have Heather Drew, who's live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Heather is the training manager at American Bible Society, and I have the deep joy to lead an online healing group with her, with an amazing group of women. Ladies, welcome. It's so good to see you. So let's get started. First, if you can start off by saying your first name, which materials you've been using online, and what technology have you been using to meet the needs of those in your community? Let's start with you, Heya.
Okay, hi everyone. I love how the use of technology is bringing all of the community of trauma healing from all around the world. It's such a wonderful experience. My name is Haya once more. I've used the Strength from Weakness pilot material, which is additional lessons that are to be given after a person goes through a healing group. We recently just completed our group and we did it through using Zoom call.
Wonderful. Gabby, how about you go next?
Hi, well, before the coronavirus emergency, our facilitator had several active healing groups, but we need to hear our government and we shut down that for a while. And then a few days later, the THI coordinators bring us a new material, Beyond the Disaster. So next week, I start an online healing group, a pilot, and we've been working with 5 beautiful ladies. This new material, and it's a bless.
Oh, that's awesome. Diana, how about you? What have you been using?
Well, in the past, I've led a healing group using Zoom.
Okay.
And part of the time Facebook Live, because we were all in different locations of the country. And then just yesterday, I led a group of facilitators through the COVID-19 lesson material that they've just done, and that went really well. And then I'm starting a group with some friends who are just expressing a lot of anxiety right now. So we're going to do the COVID lesson starting together tonight.
That's awesome. And Heather, tell us what you have been doing. What have we been doing?
Yes, I'll tell you what we've been doing. So like Gabby said, we actually, we started an online healing group just to test it out before the COVID emergency started. And we just ended last night. So we're using the classic adult material and leading a basic classic healing group using Zoom. And we also use an application called Slack, which is kind of like a messaging service, so that people can have a group chat during the week, throughout the week between groups. And we've been running it weekly for 6 weeks.
Awesome. And I think that you, I'm not sure if you said this, Heather, but how many people are in our group? And if you guys can just go back around the circle with how many people have been in your group.
Sure. I had 7 healing group facilitators in my group. We decided to pilot with people who have already been through the main curriculum, who know the classic, trauma healing books. And so we kind of did it on almost a daily basis. It was as soon as we found out that there was going to be a lockdown and that we were going to work from home and that everyone was going to have a lot of extra time. We decided that this is where we have to step in and start to do something that is actually going to help the community and to pilot something that's very important and just to pilot the whole online experience. So I had 7 facilitators in my group.
Okay, wonderful. Gabby, what about you? How many people? I think you said 5, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I've been working with 5 ladies. This was very interesting because when I was asked for this pilot, I was going to start a praying group with my friends. So I proceed to tell them, oh, I have this material, maybe we can study this material and it will help us to heal what we are feeling right now. They are very concerned because these 5 ladies are businesswomen and they have a lot in their minds because they are not selling anything. They have a lot of issues going on and being a mom and everything. So I was planning starting on Friday, but I told them Tuesday and they say, oh, start today. They were very excited about it. We are using Skype and we are using WhatsApp groups too, because WhatsApp give the opportunity to reunite 4 people in one call. So sometimes they are 5 or we are 4 it depends in the time they have.
Lovely. Diana, I want to hear how many people you have in your group, but also there's a lot of conversation about where can people find the COVID lesson. And so I know that I saw that there was a response and there was a link given, but could you share just a little bit? I think a lot of people are interested about that COVID lesson. So how many people are in your group? And also if you can just share a little bit more about the COVID lesson.
So yesterday there were 9 facilitators. I just sent out an invitation and said if anybody wanted to do this pilot together so we could learn the material. So we had, like I said, 9 facilitators, and we used the Zoom, used the breakout rooms and that worked really well. But I felt like personally it was very helpful to me, and the feedback was very good. It basically starts with a story, like all the material.
Mm-hmm.
Then you talk about what people are experiencing in the story. Then it gives a definition and just some information about the virus so that you can help educate people on what really is true, you know, how to take care of yourself and those things. And then it goes on to let you have experience to talk about what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then it included some creative exercises that we did where we drew how we were feeling and where God was in that, and then closed with a breathing exercise. So for me personally, and I felt with the facilitators also, that it was very helpful just to talk about what we were feeling and to kind of normalize some of the emotions you were having. For instance, I found myself being here, I'm isolated by myself and connected online, but just even some anger. And I think just normalizing some of those feelings for each of us was really helpful to know that that's not something that I'm just experiencing alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I've been feeling a lot of irritability and not a lot of emotional reserve for heavy things. So Heather, how have you been feeling during this time?
I would like to join your group, Diana. Feel free to add me to your group. I would love to go through a healing group. It is important to remember that we all need, as caretakers, we also need lots of things ourselves, and that struck me yesterday as well. And as far as how many people are in our group, our healing group online, we had 9 participants. We capped it at 12 people, so there would be no more than 12 people, so we could make it as manageable as possible as we were learning something new doing this online.
Yeah, I think one of the skepticisms that I had as a facilitator going into leading an online healing group was, how can people really connect online? How can they feel that there's a real connection with the people just through a screen? And that's been something that has surprised me, that there's actual healing taking place online. Hey, could you tell us, can you truly find healing in an online setting, or like this journey of healing? And maybe if you have a testimony of how that might have happened.
Yes, I have to say, I was a bit nervous at the beginning because trauma healing is all about, personal interaction and being there physically, emotionally, mentally, all of it with the people who are, within the group. But I was really surprised to see that it was very effective. Interaction was much more than I had ever thought it would be. People felt safe, even safer than maybe sometimes face-to-face groups, because they were able to shut their cameras off and share their emotions and share their feelings and, be in their comfort zone in their homes, and just to be able to share. And it was so important to be there for the people at this time, because as you said in the introduction, this is the time for us to be there for the people, because anxiety, tension, stress, it all comes out when you're stuck at home. And there's not much room for people to share or to vent, or, as Diana was saying, just to normalize.
Yeah.
And, so I did feel like that was a chance for both the participants and even myself to go through a journey of, sharing and learning. And just, it was a very safe and a place where we would look forward to every day, that we can come to and share together as this small group, this small community of people who care about each other and who want to listen to each other and want to share. So I think that was the biggest surprise that I saw.
Mm.
And I think with trauma healing, it's all about, trying to, face the need, trying to be sensitive to what the need of the community around you is. You want to help heal the community, you want to help heal the church. And
Right.
so in order to do that, you have to be flexible. And with this kind of material, you have to, go out of the box, be creative, and see what you can do and how you can use this wonderful material to reach people, whether, it doesn't matter what your situation is. You can be creative. You can, it's the most important thing is to be there for people and to fit the need. And we can't leave our spaces empty as facilitators. We have to be there for the people, and work if we are unable to do that. So I praise God for a time of technology, for a time of advancement where we can and are able to reach people through this kind of setting.
Yeah. It's almost like a new contextualization. We have all these contextualizations in different languages and different formats and different, contexts, like I mentioned, and this is just another one. This is the beauty of our program. It's so easily adaptable and flexible. So there is a question from the audience that I want to pull out, and any of you can answer. How do you deal with someone who's feeling overwhelmed in an online setting? I know we've had that experience several times, and maybe Heather, you can speak to that. How did we deal with that in our online healing group?
I think it's very normal for facilitators to feel nervous and afraid of using this new means of leading a healing group. So if you're feeling that way, it's very normal to feel sort of nervous, like, can I do harm? Can I hurt someone if I'm not as present behind the screen? And that was a fear that I had as well, because I'm a person who likes to see what's happening in the room, and it's a little different on the screen. I will say it's easier than you might think to be able to see everybody's faces as long as everyone's in the view. So as long as everyone has their camera on, and there's a setting on Zoom, which is called gallery view, which means all of the squares pop up in the same screen and you can see everyone at the same time. Mm-hmm. In some ways, it's actually easier to see everyone at the same time in this setting than it is in real life in a room together, because I can't look at everyone at once. My eyeballs can only go in one place, but I can see everyone on the screen at once if everybody has their cameras turned on. And in our group, people mostly chose to keep their cameras on, except for the art exercise or paint of the cross, things like that. So that's one thing I'll say. But also, if somebody is feeling overwhelmed, I think it's really important to pause the group, for the facilitators to say, how's everybody doing? Let's take a breath. Mm-hmm. Or it seems like there's a lot happening. Does anybody want to share what's going on for them? And just giving them a little bit more space. I think something that can be very easy and not always helpful in this online setting is to go quickly through the material, because you feel like you're in front of a computer, you are, mm-hmm. But remembering that this is a healing group, and to pause just like you would in a normal healing group with everybody in the room, and to just breathe and check in and look at their eyes, and yep. If anyone's crying, not pointing them out, but saying, does anybody need anything? Do we need a break? How about we take a 2-minute break? Things like that. Mm-hmm. And then the last, I don't want to take up all the time here, but one last thing I can say is that it is helpful. There is a feature on Zoom, which is in the advanced meeting settings, only on paid accounts. You have to be a paying member of Zoom, but you can use Breakout Rooms, which is very useful during healing groups for lots of reasons, whether you're splitting people up into discussion groups, or also if somebody's feeling overwhelmed, you can say, hey, would you like to go in a side room with me and just have a little conversation while the other facilitator is still leading the group? May I take this moment to mention that it's especially important to have two facilitators whenever possible, because the needs are very different. And one person leading a group, if you have to disappear, that means the group is on their own. So it's helpful to have two. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's good. Diana, how have you seen healing happen in this online setting?
Just like everyone said, I felt like physical presence is so important. So I was really hesitant. But I think even yesterday, seeing that when you are heard, even online, it makes a difference. And just experiencing that personally in the last week of people calling to check on me and being able to express what I'm feeling, that, you know, the most important thing we say is that you can do is listen. And so you're still offering that online. And I think I saw that yesterday, that just being heard is essential to what we do. And you can do that online.
Yeah. Gabby, what has surprised you, aside from the eagerness of the women that you're leading, what has surprised you about the healing journey online?
I think one of the things that it was very interesting how you can bring together different religions and different ages, and different things happen in the minds of these people, and they're all happy to see other faces because they are with their family all the time, and they have a lot of issues going on in their families. So when they see another people, they feel more able to speak. One of the things that I really appreciate, that everything we learn in our trainings, it's very easy to use online. For example, since day one, we during the first meeting, all the participants agreed to create and follow the set of rules to make private everything we talk in this group. And it was very funny that they had this feeling of sharing that they are doing this group. For example, every time we came together, they said, "Oh, take a selfie from the meeting." And I was like, wow, we were friends. We know for a year at least, but this group has bring us more together, and you can share just the word and Jesus and what he can do here in our hearts. Here in El Salvador and many other Latin countries, when you come together different religions, there are always bad comments or different point of views. But when you speak about healing and when you speak about this disaster that we are living, they are come together and say the only answer we have is come to the cross and put our feelings in for Jesus, you know?
Yeah, amen. Yeah. And speaking of Pain to the Cross, I see a lot of questions about how, so Pain to the Cross is a very participatory, you know, we all participate in that. We write it on the paper, we burn the paper, we put it in the water, or we nail it to the cross. And there's a lot of our, in our materials that we have to do something with. The bottles under the water, the Pain to the Cross, these different things. And so how do you do that online? Did you guys have creative ways that you had to adapt our curriculum? Hey, did you do anything interesting, whether it be with any of those?
Because we did the strength from weakness pilot, but it was different than the water bottle or the bring your pain to the cross. But you have to be innovative, you have to be creative, you have to find ways to share. So we did things like We used phone calls. For breakout sessions, for preparing for skits. I used live drawings, like for when we talked about what your emotions, how can your emotions be reflected on your body, where you feel the stress, where you feel anxiety. We did some kind of like live drawing.
Okay.
As we were doing that. So you have to be creative. You have to be innovative. We did role play. We did we had to deal with the minimum, but it was fun to see how you can be creative and how you can just create something that is not there, but I think it was easier than I thought it would be. I had to prepare PowerPoints before, and this is something that I'd like to add. Because using technology is something that's new to the material, we need to be very well prepared. We need to take some time to see what can be adapted, what can't be adapted. How can you make this as interactive as possible? Because doing it online can make it sometimes less interactive and more us talking. Being very well prepared and doing your homework before helps you make it interactive, make it fun, and just gives you more room to create something. So we used a lot of sharing and live things, like as I mentioned, drawing, reading the stories, role play, all of that.
I saw someone. Ooh, I saw someone in the chat, right, that they had their participants write on toilet paper their pain to the cross and flush it down the toilet. That is very creative. I never would have thought about that. Heather, can you tell those that are joining us today how we did our pain to the cross, our water bottle, our forgiveness exercise, just a couple of those?
The thing that I was most concerned about was pain to the cross, because it's so physical that the movement of it is such an important aspect of it. So what we thought of is to do the typical exercise where people spend time alone and then write their pain on a piece of paper. And then we had them actually turn off, they actually unmuted themselves. They turned on their microphones, all of them. And I just said, when you're ready, feel free to rip your paper slowly, but we'll be able to hear it and we'll be able to share in the sound of each other ripping our papers. And Marlena and I and everybody in our group had the exact same experience, which was writing it was like, okay, yeah, that was helpful. Sharing it was like, oh yeah, that was a little more helpful. But when we started ripping the paper and you could hear all of the ripping, we all started crying. Everybody in the group, we were all in tears. It was really beautiful. So that's a really nice idea. And then we gave people ideas about what they could do with their pieces of paper. We reminded them that they shouldn't hold on to the pieces of paper if they are ready to do something with them. We invited them to let go of that pain. And we said they could burn them outside the next day, or they could dig a hole in the ground and bury them and then put dirt back on top, or even plant a plant on top of the papers. So we just gave them a few ideas, and we used Slack messaging service, or it's similar to WhatsApp. And people posted their videos of what they did with their pieces of paper throughout the week. So that was really nice to be able to still share it together, people posting videos.
What I liked about that is it took them from this experience online or in the healing group, or sometimes, people go to church and they have this experience, but it really carried them throughout the week. They had to figure out, okay, how do I want to now physically bring this pain to Jesus, whether it's burn or water or flush it down the toilet or bury it or something. And I really appreciated that. For those of you that are just joining us, I know there's a lot of you that are on right now and some that have just joined. Welcome to the Trauma Healing webinar, where we're specifically talking about online healing activities. Most of the world right now has been on orders to stay at home or to isolate and not be in large groups. But as you know, as trauma healing facilitators, that's the majority of our program, is that we come together in some type of a community to experience healing together. And so we all of you had to think creatively about how do we still allow space for healing to happen in community where we can't do that physically. And this is why we're doing online. And that's what we're talking about today. Online healing experiences. What are successes? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? We've already talked about keeping the group small so that you can see everyone on the screen. That was another question that came in. What was the ideal number? We prefer you do it with a co-facilitator, keeping the group fairly small, under 12. But you can see everybody on the screen and really get a good feel of how everybody is experiencing the time. We talked about how to make a group safe with just pausing. Some people will get overwhelmed still. And usually you might be able to give a hug or just be present with them, but online, just pausing still, not drawing attention to them, just giving them the space. And so we talked about a lot so far. The chat is blowing up. So a lot of you are sharing different ideas, and I love that. I'm even getting ideas for myself. So let's jump back into some of the challenges. What have been some of the greatest challenges that you've experienced during this time? Gabby, I know you have an exciting, eager group, but what's been a challenge for this group or for you just doing online in general?
I think, well, I am a new mom, so I have a almost 1-year-old baby, and find time to do the group was a challenge, but we decided to do it very in the night, like 8 or 9 to 10 p.m. So that was one. And discouragement. For example, on Friday was our third meeting, but we need to postpone because we have official news about new cases of coronavirus in our country. And that was like a punch in our face, and all the ladies was very sad, and they said, I'm not ready to talk yet. I feel very discouragement, and we decided to pause, and we arranged the meeting for the next day. So sometimes with new information or everything we've been dealing with, the news or the fake news too, can bring a lot of emotions that I'm not ready to talk. And you need to respect that. You need to be patient with them. And if they are not ready, for example, yesterday was our 5th meeting, and they said, we can do it at night. We need to do it early. And I was like, okay, husband, you need to help me take the baby, and I will do this. And I prepared the dinner, and when my family was having dinner, I was with my healing group. So you need to be like very willing, very flexible with them. And I think this is our live disaster. We're still living. It's not like a earthquake. No, it's something that it's happening all day long. Right. And you need to be prepared. For example, I love all the ideas that you have, but maybe you can do a follow-up every single day with your people. For example, with the videos that they share with the pain of the cross, you can make, for example, we did the draw, like a homework. I said, and the material tell us, you can ask them to draw how they're feeling. And yesterday, everybody was late because they don't have time to do the draw. So they were very worried, like I was a teacher. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I was late because I didn't do my draw. And I was like, it's okay, don't worry. But finally, they did the draw, and they were very surprised that their husbands or their children was like, Mom, what are you doing? I want to do it too. And this homework was for them, it converted to something that they can share with their families.
That's beautiful. Diana, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced doing an online setting?
I think one of the challenges for me, I think I'm time zone challenged. I always have a hard time figuring out where everybody is and what time it is. So part of that, when you're doing it across the country and across the world, even trying to find times that everyone can join in their schedules, but also for me, like 9 o'clock at night is not a good time for me. And so how do you find times that, you know, work for you, but also work for all your participants? And so I think that's sometimes a bit of a struggle, just to bring that together.
That's real. There's a lot of questions about the technology. So we're going to jump right into Zoom, which is what we're using now, Breakout Rooms, Whiteboard. Now, something I will say to those of you that are watching, we're not going to go into how to actually do the thing. Zoom does have links for you to learn how to break out people into rooms, but I just want to talk about how we have used these kinds of things. And so, Haya, could you speak again to how Zoom has been beneficial? And you did mention other things that you guys are using, whether that be Slack or WhatsApp, or how have you been staying connected?
Zoom was very beneficial because it's very easy to use. All you have to do is just share the link. They can enter without even having an account. There's a raise your hand feature. There's the breakout rooms. You can share your screen. So it's been really easy to use, smooth. We had very, minimal technical issues. But we have been using technology like WhatsApp ever since we first started. Every group of training, every training that we have a WhatsApp group. And we like to keep in contact through that. And so just to, follow up with people, see if we have any announcements, and just to be able to share news and encourage each other. So that's actually how we even started this group. I went to one of our groups, a group of people that I know, they know how to use their technology, they're encouraged, they want to, lead groups. And I said, let's, do the strength from weakness. We've also been exploring the idea of Facebook. You can use Facebook Live. There's a lot of interaction on that. You can even use Facebook to, you can be creative, like creating some kind of, different posts and different designs and different things that talk about basics of listening, of grief, of how to be there for someone, just the basics that this material is built on. And so I think for us, we've been, at the Bible Society of Jordan, we've been using these three main, social media platforms. And so far, I think they've been very successful, very interactive, very easy to use. And it's very important to be in contact with people continuously. So this really helps and has helped a lot.
Yeah, we actually advertised on Instagram to the community that I'm a part of, and that's how we were able to get our participants. So maybe your church group has already gone through it. They've already gone through the classic materials, and you've kind of run out of people to help walk through this journey. You all have communities of people in your circles, so that could be another way. Heather, could you speak a little bit more to Zoom and what have been some challenges? What have been successes? What do you like about it?
Yeah, so I also just posted in the chat a link to some video tutorials for Zoom. I would recommend, I did a lot of research on what online tools were encrypted, which means it's safe for people to be sharing their information. And that is Zoom and WhatsApp are both encrypted. Slack is private, so it's okay because you have to join. It's a closed group. Facebook Live is not as safe because of it's not encrypted. So I personally would not recommend that as the number one option. If you can afford a Zoom account, it's $15 US dollars per month to have a paid Zoom account where you have all these features. But I will say that the technology takes a little getting used to. I am very technologically savvy. Like I'm comfortable in technology, but there were little things that I kept learning, and that was great. So I think one of the criteria is to be a learner and do research during the week about how to use Zoom or how to use WhatsApp and the safest ways to use that. It's also, go ahead, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm seeing a lot of, well, what about this feature? What about this online thing? What about this? Again, I think Heather's point is there are certain ones that are encrypted. And so you want to keep people's stories safe. And so we know that Zoom is, and we know that WhatsApp is. You may use Facebook, but it has potential for people to get in there that you might not want to be. So Facebook Live is great maybe when you're giving out information, you know, reviewing a lesson. We want everybody to see that. So just some thoughts to think about. Sorry, Heather.
No, that's okay. Thanks for saying that. I think one thing I can say, I know Signal is also a messaging service that's encrypted, and a lot of people use that. It's less used maybe, but I think something to consider is that you want to pick something. If you know this information about the people in your group, you may want to pick the thing that is easiest to use, especially if you're not sure how easy it is for people to use technology. We only had 1 or 2 people in our healing group who were not comfortable with technology, and we found ways. Yes. Mylena learned a lot, and she's great now. But you can have phone calls during the week to try things out with participants who are not comfortable, and yourself included. Feel free to do that with friends that you have. But one thing I will say, and this is about technology, but it's really important facilitation wise, is if you do not have a way to connect during the week, I think that's a little less helpful. I think having a way that you can, first of all, we always like to leave our participants with something to hold on to, because when I hit end meeting, everyone just disappears and they're at home by themselves and don't always have someone to talk to, and that can be kind of sad and lonely and hard for people. So having a way that people can know for sure that they have someone they can communicate with that night, even through Slack or through WhatsApp or Signal or whatever it is, knowing that they can just say, hey, I'm struggling tonight and this is what I'm holding on to, or this is the thing that I'm remembering tonight. We found that was very effective. And even with people who were really struggling, it was really helpful to have a way they knew something was available, that somebody was going to read their message soon. Does that answer the questions that you're hoping for?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where social media does come in, because a lot of our people are on social media. And so, Hea, maybe you can speak to that about using social media in a safe way, because that is where people are and you want to meet people where they're at.
Absolutely. I think you have to be, I said this at the beginning of our time together, you have to be creative, and you have to see whatever way that you can reach people. And sometimes, and I agree with Heather, Facebook Live is not the best or safest way to do a healing group, but you can do a kind of a webinar or a live chat or a discussion where people have easy access, and they can go in and they can ask their questions. We like doing things like, posts or, short video, or maybe someone sharing a testimony that's, it's not like not a sensitive testimony, but something that can encourage people to go ahead and contact those who can help. We've also been discussing doing something like, you know, a COVID-19 hotline or something, some kind of like email where they can reach us if they are going through, you know, deep stress or they need someone to talk to. And then through that, through our Facebook page or maybe Instagram, as you said. And so people can see this advertisement, they will be encouraged to join, but then what happens after is safe and it's, you know, secure and it's personal, but just a way to reach people. And Facebook, Instagram, they're wonderful platforms that are very, you know, open and people can go in and they can do everything very easily. But at the same time, what comes after is, you know, this is where our part comes, that we have to make sure that the people are safe, they are secure, that there is, you know, any kind of like, you know, secrecy and all of that, just to make them feel, just to create the safe space for them to share. So I think I love that we can be so creative with the material. I love that we can, you know, step out of a mold or a frame and, you know, use bits and pieces, use it as a whole, use it with a group, use it with, you know, different settings. And this is, I think, a blessing that this trauma healing community, you know, or a privilege that we have.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for explaining that. Something that I do want to share, and Diana, I'm going to have you speak to this, that this is not the primary way that we want to use our materials, which is online. Our healing activity is best, what we found, to work in person. And so we want to keep that at the forefront. We're not saying that this is the new way that we want everybody to use our materials. Not at all. We're just saying, in the time of this crisis where we can't meet in person, this is an option for you to meet the needs of those in your community. So Diana, can you speak to that, just about this is an option, this is a way to meet the needs, but it isn't the primary way that we want you to use the materials?
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier I was hesitant about the online because I do think as you're talking about even how people connect after groups, part of the experience of either an equipping even or a healing group is that they build community together. And so I think that's much more difficult online. I think breaking people into groups online is helpful. But there's something about physically being in a room together, experiencing this together, that they're building community. Because as facilitators, we can't be community for 100 people after we've led them through groups. So I think that's an important element of healing group, is that community is built between the participants of a healing group, so that they have each other to walk together through their pain or their suffering or their joy, you know.
Yeah.
So, but there are times when it is impossible to be together in a room. So I think it's great that we're getting to experience this, because of, as you know, a lot of times we have people in context around the world where there's not facilitators, there's not, you can't do it with someone else, you can't have a master facilitator there to direct you. So I think this is a great opportunity that we're learning how to do that in context where there's not people doing trauma healing, that this is a way that we might be able to bring it to that context.
That's right.
But that element of physically being a body of believers together is a critical element of healing and community. So, you know, when we all are be able to be in the room together again, we're saying whenever possible, do that, because I think that's important. You know, I think about the neurobiology and the science of being present together, and how we're seeing that you just can't, orchestrate that, I think, online the way you can in person.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarity. I think a lot of people were curious about that. Like, wait, is this the new way? It's like, no, it's another way. As we wind down this call, this has been it's been great for me as a facilitator to learn from all of you. And I know that with all of I just heard somebody say, please do more. We will do more, we promise. But Gabby, I want to hear from all of you, but I'm going to start with Gabby about what what do you want people to know? Like, what's a key takeaway that you want people to really just carry with them as they leave this time? And please, guys, don't jump off. We have some closing thoughts. We want to do an exercise with you so that you can experience what it's like to be a part of a healing group at the end. So don't jump off just yet. But Gabby, what do you want people to know about doing online healing activity?
That it's okay to do something, and something for a safe way. We don't want superheroes that make meetings in their homes and bring sickness to their homes. No, we can do it in a safe way. That was on our first call to, as a Bible society, we want that our facilitators be safe. So we tell them, stop the meetings. We can do it in other ways. So thank God for technology. And it's okay not to know everything.
Yeah.
And
So
it's okay to search on YouTube or other sources some tutorials, or ask your child. They know even more about technology. And I think one of the things that I really want to point is that time is change, and we have technology in our sides. Just think about it. The 12 disciples they don't have Facebook, they don't have any tools that we have, but we really can do something even more more real in this time. If they can do it without these tools,
that's right.
Imagine what we can do with these tools. So
yes.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid about your age. Don't be afraid if you don't have a computer, but you have a cell phone. You can do it from your cell phone. And don't be worried about the skips. You can make a video with your family and then send the video to your group. I mean, we need to be creative, as they say. And we received this call. We received the call to embrace the people that are suffering. And maybe the suffering looks like people in the screen of your phone. So don't be afraid to do it. Just try and ask for help. That is the major point I want to tell them. And pray. As always, our dear Sharon says, the Lord is going to do something.
Yeah.
You just need to do your job, and the Lord is going to grow that seed in a beautiful tree, and it's going to bless a lot of people.
Amen. Yes. I could leave here, but I'm not. There's so much more wisdom and wealth that I know that the rest of you guys want to share. Something that I keep saying every week is like, God just shows up. He shows up every time. I don't do anything. I just sit in front of my computer, Heather and I, and God shows up every week. So Gabby, thank you so much. People are so encouraged by you. I'm reading the chats right now. It's exciting. Diana, what is one thing that you want people to know before we transition?
Yeah, first of all, sometimes when I leading equippings, I'll say at the top of every page, we should write Holy Spirit, because it's the most important element. I think something that God has really laid on my heart, and why I'm drawn to trauma healing, I think, is my own experience and a lot of people's experience with God is a lot of knowledge, but that knowledge has not been embodied, how you walk it out. And so I'm just seeing this as a time of great crisis, but also if you talk to people about when they've most been changed and transformed, it's usually in crisis or suffering. So I'm just trying to pray about where God can use me to participate in what he's doing. I've been reaching out to churches. I encourage you to reach out to churches, because I think they need something more than just knowledge right now for people to actually walk through this pain. So what a great opportunity for us to come alongside people and be guides through their emotions so that they're able to actually experience real transformation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I keep thinking the title of the book is How to Heal the Wounds of Trauma, How the Church Can Help. How can we speak into the church at this point to maybe help them see the need, the essential need for something more than just knowledge, but actually how do we embody transformation and how do we embody becoming like Christ?
Amen. That's so good. Everybody's really encouraged by you as well. I don't know if you're seeing the chats, but I'm like seeing them kind of pop up. Thank you for reminding us that we are here to serve the church so that the church can meet the needs of their communities too. So thank you so much for that reminder. We have about 450 people on this call right now. It's amazing. Heather, what do you want to say to 450 people that are listening right now?
Well, do we want to do the breathing exercise?
We do.
3 minutes. All right, I can do
We do. Don't worry. We're going to get there. But is there anything, is that what you want to leave the group with?
Yes, I think just remembering that you all need to take care of yourselves as well, that it's easy to forget yourself. Okay.
Hea, what about you? What can you share? And just as we are about to close up.
Sorry, I think there's not much to add after what these beautiful ladies have shared, but I'm just constantly reminded that God's work is not limited, not by a pandemic, not by, a lockdown, not by a curfew. And so as people who are serving and people who are in the ministry, we have to, have our eyes open and our hearts ready to be used. And because I keep, being reminded of the importance of filling up our places, filling up the place that we should be standing strong in. And so, as a trauma healing community, we are here to help our communities and our church become safer places and to heal. So I just want to encourage people, we've tried this and it has worked. I want to tell you guys, be encouraged. Don't be afraid to try. It's okay, to get some things right and get some things wrong. You learn along the way, but the need is too big to be ignored, especially at times like these. So I want to encourage you all to, take this step forward, be an initiator, be creative, and enjoy what God is doing through all of this, and just, enjoy how God is working through this wonderful community of people. So I just want to, I hope this has encouraged people to go forward with this. And I have some of the people who are in my group right here on the webinar, and they will, if they share on the chat, they will let you know that they really, enjoyed this time. This was a time for them to breathe, to share, and to be taken care of. So, be encouraged, and God is going to do wonderful work through this time, as we have seen him do through a lot of, difficult, other difficult times.
Thank you so much. There are some action steps. Please don't jump off the call. We want to share with you what your action steps are, what you can do, and then we also want to invite you into an online healing experience through a breathing exercise. So we want you to take the post-webinar survey. Once you log off, you will get a survey. Please, we want to hear from you. How was this? How can we do better? What was helpful? What wasn't? We want you to try to lead an online healing group or an online Beyond Disaster session. Like so many have said, just jump out and do it. You are equipped, you are anointed, God is there, and he will be with you. And lastly, don't forget to follow us on our Trauma Healing Institute Facebook or Instagram page. Where can you find these resources? I know that these have been chatted in, these have been linked in the chat section, but you will also receive this as well. If you remember nothing else, you can go to thi.americanbible.org/brochures. Again, we will email you that link with the recording of this Zoom call in no more than a week. Okay, so Heather, could you please close us out in a breathing exercise so that we can know how we can take care of ourselves as we're taking care of so many other people?
Yes, happily. So I will shorten this so that you all have we respect your time. But if you can get in a comfortable seat, if you can either sit or if you want to lie down, that's fine. We all breathe all the time, but sometimes we don't do it aware of how we're breathing. So a very calming practice and soothing practice is to do a certain kind of deep breathing into your diaphragm, which is low in your abdomen. So find a comfortable position in your seat, and if you feel comfortable to close your eyes, feel free to close your eyes. And take one hand and place it on your chest, and one hand and place it on your stomach, sort of where your belly button is. And if your eyes are closed, just feel your breath come in through your nose and out through your nose. And notice if you can breathe into that lower hand more than your hand on your chest. If you can keep the hand on your chest as still as possible and breathe into that hand that's on your stomach. And you can imagine maybe waves coming in and out on the beach. Your breath is like these waves where the inhales and the exhales are smooth. And each inhale, maybe you imagine breathing in a gift from God like peace or calm or love. And each exhale, you breathe out things like fear and anxiety. And then your very next inhale, you breathe in that peace and love and calm again from God. In the Bible, the Spirit of God is described as a wind. And so you can imagine that your breath, you can breathe in the Spirit of God and be filled with the Spirit, and you can exhale anything that you don't need, like fear and anxiety. And this may not be comfortable at first. It may take some time to practice it, to feel comfortable with it. But I would invite you to practice this a few times a day, especially in the midst of this COVID crisis. Know that you are loved, that we are praying for you, that you are held, and we care about you very much. And keep breathing.
God, thank you so much that you are our breath. Then when we don't have materials or even community that we can touch and feel and see, God, that you are with us. You're with us. Your breath is with us. You breathe life into our lungs, and you are with us. And I pray that you would provide safety for each and every one on this call, that you would protect each and every one, Father. I pray that they would know that they are loved and that they are cared for by a perfect Father in heaven. We adore you, Jesus. We love you and we thank you. Amen. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you for those of you who are joining us. Have a great day.